evening, everybody. Welcome to Anfield. Hopefully you can hear me over the lawnmowers, which, as you can see, are mowing the Anfield pitch. And I suspect, I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek before anyone gets upset, that they maybe will make it out of the penalty area a little bit better than Norwich did with the ball this afternoon. They've been beaten by 5 goals to 2 here against Liverpool in the FA Cup 4th round. They're now out of that competition. And it was, a tough afternoon, I think. I think that's fair to say for Norwich City. It always is, probably for any side that comes to Anfield, particularly when you're a championship side, particularly when you're facing the levels of quality that Liverpool have. And in truth, is this the best barometer of your progress as a team, of what you're good at as a team, of what you're bad at as a team? Never really is that. But I think Norwich City will leave Anfield today feeling that in certain aspects of their performance, they could have done significantly better. Apologies for the hat hair. So I've got the goals up in front of me because I fear that I'm going to forget them or get them in the wrong order. But I'll just run through kind of what happened in the game individually. Norwich City made a series of changes. George Long started in goal. It was Stacey, Hanley, Gibson and McCallum as the back four. He matched Liverpool up in their 4-3-3 and actually it became a 4-5-1 out of possession. They had Hernandez and Fashnacht on either flanks. Nunez, McLean and Sarah were the midfield three and Ashley Barnes up front, and that was geared to really ensure that Ashley Barnes could pin the ball and get Norwich City up the pitch, but actually they struggled to do that. The quality of the service wasn't great to him. There was 1 or 2 occasions where I thought he linked the play quite nicely, but by and large it was more the issue in possession earlier on in the move that really cost them. And I get it, because you come here and you have to try and play, you have to try and get out, you have to try and relieve the pressure. But equally, I think maybe it felt like what Norwich should have done is started Adam Eder and tried to almost put the ball into areas for him to chase and to try and stretch Liverpool, because all it created really was service into Barnes or them trying to play themselves out and that getting a little bit complicated and Liverpool then just being able to turn the ball over and attack at will. And when you leave spaces for them, they've got the quality, as everyone can see, to go and punish you and hurt you. And that's the reality of what happened on a few occasions here. Let's run through the game then. Curtis Jones gave Liverpool the lead after 16 minutes, across from the young lad McConnell, which he's headed in. Norwich get really confused with their marking. He's left all alone at the back post. It's a simple header into the corner of the net. Jack Stacey has almost passed one on. Fashnacht doesn't do the duties that he should be doing defensively, and the whole thing kind of breaks down, and Jones is just left with a routine header. Norwich equalised on 22 minutes. It was a long throw from this near side. Oh, sorry, it was corner, my bad. It was corner. Gabriel Sarah clipped into the near post. And I think it's come off Ben Gibson's shoulder back, and it's looped over Allison and into the net. And at that point, it put Norwich City 1-1 up. 1-1, so it felt like 1-1 up. It brought Norwich City back into the game, made it 1-1. Really pleased for Ben Gibson. I spoke to him after the game. He's had a really tough few weeks. A premature baby, extremely premature. Thankfully, seems to be on the road to recovery now, but she's been in intensive care, and that's been very difficult for him and his family. First ever Norwich City goal, to do it in front of the Kop in those circumstances, I think you could see that it meant a lot to him. And it's nice that he got that moment, that his family, who travel up and down the country every single week to watch him play for Norwich City, got that moment as well after what's been a tough few weeks. We can park the football aspect of it. There's some football criticisms, of course, but for that moment, I'm absolutely chuffed for Ben Gibson, who is, by all accounts, a very decent human being who's, again, had to juggle some really tough stuff. Liverpool regained the lead on the 28th minute. Again, this is Norwich trying to play out. Long chips the ball into Sam McCallum. He gets dispossessed on the left wing. Liverpool break clear, and Kenny McLean gets caught out. He jumps out of the back four to try and press. That leaves space for the ball to be slotted through, and it's a devastating finish from Darwin Nunez to make it 2-1. Jota made it 3-1. Again, it's a long ball forward. Ben Gibson has flicked it on, but all he's done really is flicked it up in the air, and that's allowed Jota to take a touch and finish. So that made it 3-1. Adam Eder fails to track Virgil van Dijk for a corner. That made it 4-1. Brilliant header from him. Borja Sainz then scores a worldly long ball forward that Alexander Arnold nods down. Sainz carries it up the pitch, produces an unbelievable right-footed strike, and that kind of illustrates what I was speaking about maybe after Leeds, that you need to get these players in areas of the pitch where they can affect games and where they can show their individual quality. He's got plenty of it, and I think that goal is proof and evidence of of what he can create when Norwich City ensure that he has the ball in the right areas. And actually, there was a lot of Anfield who were applauding that goal when it hit the back of the net. A stunning strike, but that made it 4-2, and then the game got finished off in stoppage time when Conor Bradley's cross was converted by Ryan Gravenberch. George Long made a really good double saver in that. Cody Gakpo could have had about 5 goals within that. And I think this is where the frustration is, because Liverpool have so much. Look, you don't need me to talk to you about Liverpool's quality. Look at the triple sub they made in the second half. Robertson, Szoboszlai, Alexander-Arnold came on, Van Dijk came on. It's phenomenal embarrassment of riches. They're top of the Premier League. They're competing on all fronts. They're in a Carabao Cup final. They could go and win the Premier League. They could go and win the Europa League. Everyone knows their quality. What you cannot do is gift them goals and gift them opportunities in the way that Norwich City did today. And that, I think, is the frustration, because do you know what? If someone stands you up and puts the ball in the top corner, fair enough, you hold your hands up and you say that's quality. When some of those goals have come from your costly errors in possession, or have come from defensive errors and really defensive basics, I think that's when you probably feel a little bit irked and a little bit frustration. And that's what I think Norwich City will feel when they reflect and review on this game. I didn't feel that the game plan worked, and again, I'm not criticising Ashley Barnes. I think more structurally of using him really as a linchpin to try and get them up the pitch, that didn't really have a great deal of success. I think, as I said, and I'm not saying this with the benefit of hindsight particularly, I think it would have been better, because of the way that the Liverpool want to play, to try and stretch them, because then at least if you put the ball up in the area, or in an area, in either channel, behind either full-back or centre-back for either to chase, if Liverpool are then reclaiming possession, they're not doing that on the halfway line with Norwich City having 11 men behind their goal and smaller yards to make up to create opportunities. They're doing that deep in their own half, and that felt to me like the way that Norwich City should have gone about it. It should have tried to get themselves up the pitch that way. And look, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. David Wagner, his coaching team, went with that way. I probably would have gone a different way, but I didn't necessarily feel that allowed Norwich to relieve the pressure. And what you have to do when you come here, really, really big places against unbelievable quality teams, you have to survive. You have to survive for blocks, 10-minute block, 5-minute block, 20-minute block, whatever. You have to break it down and you have to make them survivable. When you are camped on the edge of your own area and there's loads and loads of possession, and don't get me wrong, to an extent there are elements of those periods that are going to be inevitable when you come here. Look at what Maidstone did at Ipswich yesterday. They had to really ride their luck, and you always have to. But I just think they could have done themselves a favour by getting themselves up the pitch a little bit better if they'd have just again put the ball into areas and tried to play a little bit for percentages. But equally, I understand David Wagner's argument, because you can't not have the ball. You have to have the ball as well. It's knackering. There's nothing worse as a player. I've done it. I've played for loads of rubbish teams who have done it countless occasions. There is nothing more tiring than not having the ball. And when you're chasing and harrying constantly, it's difficult. But equally, there were points where Norwich's structure wasn't right, and because they had 5 in midfield, they were undermanned on the back line, and Liverpool always could exploit that because of the way that their players identify space really, really nicely. And then some of it, of course, is quality, and you have to hold your hands up and accept that when you come to a place like this, Liverpool are going to have quality to hurt you. There are plenty of Premier League teams that do that. There are plenty of Premier League teams who don't come here and score 2 goals. So, look, it's not the best barometer. It was always going to be, to an extent, a little bit of a free hit, an interesting kind of vision of how Norwich City would look coming up against some of the elite in world football, let alone English football. And I think they will feel disappointed maybe of the gifts that they've given to Liverpool this afternoon, and the way that they've defended and some of their work in possession. But equally, they've come here and scored 2 goals and 2 pretty well worked goals. A set piece routine, brilliant bit of movement from Gibson actually to get to the near post and connect, and then a wonderful individual goal from Borja Sainz, which has come from a turnover and a transitional moment. But they've not been annihilated. The scoreline's not pretty. I recognise whenever you can see 5 away from home, there's going to be questions. And my issue is with the defensive areas and the basics, and not to get all Roy Keane, but I don't think Norwich City tested Liverpool enough. I don't think they made them uncomfortable enough at points, and I would have liked to have seen them be more assertive in the way that they were out of possession and That doesn't necessarily mean you need to go and press like madmen and get played around, but I just think they could have been a little bit braver with how high their line was. They could have applied a little bit more pressure at various points. But look, equally, I understand they could have done all of that, and the scoreline could have been completely different. But it does feel like a lot of the goals that they've conceded today have come from really themselves and their own errors. And of course, that's an inevitability in football. You look at sources of goals, and by and large, the majority of them come from defensive errors. But that's the difficulty, because, as I said, if a good player stands you up, he beats you, and he puts a shot in the top corner from 30 yards, you stand back, you applaud, and you say, okay, that's quality. But I don't think I'm looking at too many of Liverpool's goals today and thinking, wow, there's nothing that Norwich City could have done with that. There was devastating finishing, yes, and there was the clinical edge that maybe they don't necessarily have to face in the Championship, admittedly. But there was never one where Liverpool completely outworked Norwich or undone Norwich particularly. It was really Norwich City undoing themselves, and that I think is the frustration. It would have been nice if they could have gone and affected it a little bit more in terms of an attacking perspective as well. And I just didn't feel that transitionally they made the most of the opportunities that were there, but equally they've scored two good goals, and those 4,000 odd fans who were behind the goal have those moments. This has been a really dire place for Norwich City to watch football and to play football for the last 30 years, and I'm not going to dress up a 5-2 defeat as some unbelievable result for Norwich, because it's not. And like I said, there were plenty of issues with it, but I'm glad they got something to cheer, and I recognise that's a really low point to kind of credit, but hey ho, it is what it is. Look, this is not a good barometer for Norwich, and it's not a good barometer for where they're at. Just on Wednesday night, really, it was to an extent the same. But I think there'll be, as I said, a frustration about the way that maybe they've approached it. And one thing I did want to say, because there's been a lot made of this, I tweeted about it before the game, but I'm pretty perplexed, if I'm honest, by the decision to put two goalkeepers on the bench. I was at Old Trafford yesterday. Norwich City's under-21s were in action against Manchester United. They lost that game 4-2, so only one more goal than the first team did here today. I don't understand why that place that was taken by Caleb Anson, who is a youngster by all accounts, but as we said pre-match, it would have taken something pretty miraculous for him to end up on the pitch. For a club that is built and is guided, and the whole ethos is about developing players and bringing them through the academy. Just felt to me a shame, a real missed opportunity to put Kenabo, to put Joe Duffy, to put Finley Welsh, to put Pedro Lima, Montoya, any of these players on the bench, really. Even if the prospect is they played 90 minutes at Old Trafford, they weren't going to get on the pitch, fine, okay, I can accept that. But just to give them the opportunity to taste the first team environment, to get the opportunity to come and play here in front of a full Anfield, to warm up here, to experience everything around that. That really is what, for me, this club should be about. So I can understand why David Wagner elected against it when you've got players there who have played 90 minutes. I don't necessarily agree with it, because essentially you've written off that substitution spot anyway by putting two goalkeepers on the bench. So you may as well go and put an under-21 on the bench and let them experience that. Kenabo, for example, who, I saw him yesterday. He says, he's far too good for under-21 football now. Give him the taste of it, give him the experience of it, and who knows, that might be enough of a carrot for him. Maybe not for him to sign a new contract, because I think that's probably done and dusted, really, but certainly for the next one. And that, for me, is the frustration here today, that feels a little bit of an opportunity loss, but, it's a minor point. And look, it wasn't to be. Norwich didn't do anything really that you need to do if you're going to produce a cup shot. They weren't defensively organised enough. They were pretty structurally poor at points, and in possession they offered little. And you have to get all of those things right and hope that you get some luck along the way. And they didn't do that. And actually, there was a spell in the first half where Anfield was getting a little bit frustrated. Might have been after the first goal or after Norwich's equaliser. Just there was some sloppiness in possession. There were turnover opportunities that Norwich were missing, and it just felt like if they could have shown a little bit more quality in those moments, that they could have come away and made this a lot better of a performance than perhaps it was in reality. Which, in truth, against, again, with the caveat, very, 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 very top side, admittedly, but I just feel that Norwich City will feel they could have done more here this afternoon, and that's the frustration, both from a coaching perspective and from a playing perspective as well. But look, the reality is Norwich have bigger tests to come. They have bigger fights to fight, starting with Coventry next Saturday. They have a game against Bristol City in midweek. That obviously takes them level on games with Norwich City. If they win that, Norwich will be 5 points behind Coventry heading into that game next Saturday. It's a must-win. It's a must-win because if they lose that game and they're 8 points behind Coventry, that requires a 3-game swing. It's going to be so difficult. That is ultimately why Josh Sargent has been rested today, and hopefully John Rowe can be in a position where they do that, where they get him back as well in some capacity. It's going to be difficult, I think. But if Norwich City win that, we'll probably all forget about this one. But it has finished here at Anfield. Liverpool 5, Norwich City 2. Cup run over, and we go back to Championship football and back to Norfolk. I don't know, maybe feeling a little bit aggrieved that Norwich City just couldn't show a little bit more here today. Thanks for watching. Bye.